Evening, everybody. What's up? It's Monday Night Review. How did the weekend go? Amazingly. Look at this. Let's zoom in on something before we go over game by game. This is the NFL weeks, week 1 through 7 games. How many games we picked right, how many we missed, how many are still to be determined. So week 7 is so far the best week we've had with the file, and it's coming off after the worst week we had with the file last week. So consistency can just be thrown out the window. Anyway, we have Philadelphia tonight. If we win Philadelphia game, I call it the Philadelphia game because I think they're going to win. Even though I'm a Skins fan, I guess I win either way here. But I do think Philadelphia is going to win this game. The projected score, according to my, whatever formula, is 25-22. I do think Philly's going to win this game. I think it's going to be definitely going to be close. It's going to be a good game, but I do think Philly's going to win. Anyway, if that happens, we will get to 80% for the week, which would be our best week in our first 12-win week of the year. We have to start doing this, otherwise I got to pay everybody back their money. I said anybody who bought the file, if I don't get this thing to a cumulative 75%, right now we're at 61, almost halfway through the season. If I don't get that to 75%, I give everybody their money back. So, what happened in week 7? Well, I don't know. It's a bit disturbing while also reassuring, and I don't know at the same time. So, our number 1 pick of the week, according to the formulas back last week, was KC on Thursday night, and they managed to lose somehow to Oakland. I know Derek Carr was back. That is unaccounted for in the file because I guess he's back from not playing, right? So let's call that a car bomb. I don't know what happened there. Indianapolis is miserable, so Indy terrible. Indy bad. Then Carolina and Chicago, I don't know what happened here. How does Carolina only put up 3 points? Was Cam Napa in this game? Was in Chicago? I don't think it was cold. Was it raining? I don't know. I wasn't around watching football. I was around driving. I didn't see. I don't know. I hardly saw anything. Now, so there's 2 out of the top 3 are losers. That sucks. If you use this file as the highest win percentage is what you should go with. Luckily, I didn't. If you watch the video, I didn't, and I had Tennessee because Cleveland is just a team that cannot win. So Cleveland's bad. God, are they bad? And so you just go with anybody who plays Cleveland in the survivor pool because Cleveland can't win. So that was lucky enough apparently to happen because Tennessee wins in overtime. So the reason why I picked Tennessee is kind of what happened. Cleveland just finds a way not to win. I guess I don't think there was a touchdown in that game with that score. So Seattle and the Giants. Seattle is proving to be more and more solid. Solid Seattle. And also the Giants are miserable. So that makes sense. The Rams, I always found a... Now, I said in the video last week, I actually thought Arizona was going to win this game. So I was overriding my file. So I would have got this wrong picking, but the file's right. So don't blame the file, or for my being an idiot. The file said yes, so that's a win for the file. I guess the Rams are scoring points, and Arizona also is not a good team. You kind of look at some teams and say, I don't know what they're going to do, and other teams are just, that they have no playoff hopes. And those teams that don't have playoff hopes are Cleveland, the Giants, the Niners. Arizona doesn't have playoff hopes in my mind. I almost think the Bengals don't have playoff hopes. I don't think the Jets really have playoff hopes. And there are other problems we'll go over. Like Denver's starting to look troubling after this Chargers win. Didn't have that. Foul did not prick the Chargers. Yeah, what happened here? Why Denver bad? I don't know. We can use bad all the time here. Of course, Antonio Brown. Ben wakes up halfway through the season. Ben Antonio. You can't stop these people. So, of course, they're going to beat Cincinnati. I do think Philly's going to win this game. Go Skins, because I'm a Skins fan. But, if you're listening to the file. And then, I don't know what happened here. That's not over yet. Then Minnesota and Baltimore. Yeah, Minnesota's looking more reliable. They come off the strong starts. I don't know what happens to them later in the season. Cowboys waking up. Us, the Niners are just, you go against San Francisco where you can. It won't let me type the letter F on my keyboard. Come on now. I'll stop typing it. Rams and Arizona. Anyway, so Patriots held on over Atlanta. That was kind of funny on the Sunday night game. I listened to that on the radio when I was driving down from New England down to back to DC, and that seemed interesting. I was listening to this game on one of those stations where it was very heavily, from New England. So like they're rooting for New England. They're calling the Atlanta quarterback stupid and calling Atlanta stupid all the time for their penalties. That's a stupid penalty by Atlanta. That team, they're just so one-sided, and it was funny to listen to it that way. But man, people in New England are hardcore about the Patriots. It is almost a disease. So that was crazy to watch that or listen to that. But they did win a rematch of the Super Bowl, and they did win again. Buffalo, I liked Buffalo beginning of the year, and then they had some crappy losses for me, including, I believe, they beat Denver. I can't remember if they beat Denver or lost to Denver. They lost a couple games for me last week, so I haven't been happy with them, but they, of course, beat Tampa Bay. And then the Saints, which we did call in the file because Rodgers being out, they even win that game. I know Green Bay, I believe, was leading that game a lot. If I was watching some updates of scores once in a while. And Miami does beat the Jets. Anything can happen there. And it did. So now that we've done that, let's talk about next week. Okay? Because I've been able to go and reverse engineer the file a little bit. I found out that the percentages that you can mix around for different types of stat categories, like the difference in the win percentage of the team, and when I say what the win percentage of the team is, I mean, if you look in like the matrix, we have a team name over here, and we have a win percentage right here. This is their win-loss percentage. So the difference in a win-loss percentage between like Kansas City and Carolina's win percentage is this 71 minus 57, or that's like, is that 14%, I think? Yes. So 14% is the number that shows up if Kansas City is playing Carolina in a game as the difference in win percentage right here. So, for example, this is the reason why I bring this up. Let me show you something funny here. But the difference in win percentage between Arizona and Detroit is that Detroit slightly has more wins than Arizona. By 7% more, probably one more win. Now, when you weight all these things together in a formula in this win strength right here, which is what I've done, I add the weights, which are right here above, like how much we're weighting each one of these categories. You can mess around with this, okay? And when you mess around with this, it's going to change what the historical result was, and it's going to change whether you were right or wrong up here. So the challenge, and I haven't actually written a formula to optimize this, even though I'm sure there's a mathematical algebraic formula that will optimize this, if not just randomly doing all combinations. But what I did was I was messing around with it, and I said, all right, well, according to what we had last week, for example, we had, I believe, 5, 35, 10. I think we had 35 here, and then what is that? 15 that leaves, I think. I think this is what we had going into last week. This would have yielded, we would have got 75% of the results right if you go back and look at the first 7 weeks, and that includes week 7, so there's a little iffiness here if you really want to get technical. But so that means you would have gotten 75% of the games right if you use this formula based on all the team's comparative stats. Well, guess what if you do this? 100% rated on wins gives you 77% right versus 75 with all this messing around, right? So kind of the biggest predictor of who's going to win the game really is wins. Now, that's a little skewed because I'm including Week 7's games as a predictor of Week 7, which means that it's kind of, the result is creating the formula, so that's not really a good predictor. But you got to mix it up a little bit because you got to also throw defense in there, and there's matchups, and so that's why we end up with stuff like this. I really think points per game is a bad predictor after looking. It's a terrible one. It always reduces. Wins is huge, of course. Team that wins more is probably going to win more. Margin of victory matters a little bit. And defense does still matter. It does still bring things up relatively, so you got to include it because it's another driver of wins. So a team with a really good defense playing a team that really never wins is a great matchup that you want. So knowing all that and knowing how you can mess around with this too if you want to buy the file, which is why I sell the file because it's pretty cool, is look at week at 8. You know, look at the next week, right? And what do we have and why? And I haven't done much with the scores, which I really need to, and I think I'll continue to work on that because I really haven't looked at that at all in a long time. But all right, let's go game by game. Let's just do half, and this is going to be a little skewed, but we're going to do it quicker for the video. So Baltimore and Miami. It likes Miami because Baltimore's flaky. Not only is Baltimore flaky, but let's give it an open a little tiny bit. Baltimore has a much worse defense than Miami. So this is why you like Miami in this game, according to the file. Even though it has Baltimore scoring more points than Miami in the predictor of points. That's pretty funny. That's because it's averaging the team's points during the season. So this can't happen where it looks like Baltimore wins in points, but my percentage says that Miami's going to win. So that's a caveat there. The Bills are favored over Oakland in Buffalo. I do like that, even though it's probably going to be like fall foliage weather and 75 in Buffalo, I'm guessing, right? I do like that, though. I don't have faith in Oakland. But wait a minute. Derek Carr's back. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. There's nothing you can do to kind of prune the data of this file to just look at Derek Carr games. You just kind of have to look back at games at week 7 and see how did Oakland really do with Carr. I'm hearing the second hand. I didn't watch the game. I know that Oakland won 31-30 over Kansas City, so putting up 31 on Kansas City, is Derek Carr superhuman? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe we'll find out. But knowing that, it does like Buffalo, so that kind of makes you want to discount this 19% a little bit because Carr is back. So let's watch out for that if Oakland really is good around them. Cincinnati's favored over Indianapolis. Interesting. I agree with it because Indianapolis seems pretty bad. They seem pretty terrible. I'm going to hide the times from this. I think that all this makes sense. The only place that Indianapolis has a higher offensive rating, and that's about it. But Cincinnati supposedly has a better defense. 24-18 kind of sounds like a reasonable. I bet you Indianapolis doesn't even put up 18. Indianapolis is having some serious problems, right? I heard press conferences that were like, whoa, somebody's unhinged. I think so. So, yikes. Cleveland and Minnesota. Cleveland, of course, is the team that doesn't know what a win feels like. And that happens a lot to them. And their poor baseball team, jeez, they won everything in a row. And, oh, God, now they're going to lose everything in a row. So you got to love Minnesota in this game. I think this is probably my lock of the week without even looking at the rest of the games. Because how on earth is Cleveland, although they're at home, going to beat a Minnesota team that's been playing better and owns them in every category? And what is the biggest category? By the way, Philadelphia's favored more of the 49ers. I cannot take Philadelphia again. If you're playing along with me and you've been copying me, because we are 7-0 so far. Tennessee struck it out in overtime for us. You know, that was huge. We can't pick Philly. I can pick Minnesota. I'm going to tend it. I'm not going to do it until I make the decision. Hold on. Let's go back. I really love this game. Now, you know, all right, I love that game a lot. So if this doesn't happen, that makes you wonder. Detroit and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's favored by a quarter in this format. What does it look like when I do this, actually? Hold on. Pittsburgh is favored by 25% still. Okay. I think that I always want to like Detroit more. Pittsburgh. Look at Pittsburgh ahead in only in margin of victory and in defense is the only place where Detroit is worse than. Sorry, and wins. Wait a minute, and wins. Yeah. I mean, Pittsburgh probably gonna win. I still don't totally trust them all the time, but they're probably gonna win. KC and Denver. Now, here's something. You think KC's going to rebound against a Denver team that's really struggling, right? I think KC's going to win this game. I don't think they're going to drop 3 in a row. But, I mean, to lose a heartbreaker on Thursday night, hey, that happens to people. They're still a really good team, right? I think they are. I think they are. So I think they're going to win that game. Patriots and the Chargers. Chargers come off a nice win this week, shutting out, right, somebody. That's what the Chargers just did, right? They just beat Denver 21-0. So good for them. They've been doing better the last 3 weeks or so, I believe. Pats, though, are starting to look more like the Pats, and those crazy announcers are really screaming. This is Pats are at home at Foxborough. Are they always at home? I feel like they're always at home. 23-22. I think they're going to win, yeah. Don't you? I think the Pats are going to win. That's reliable. Saints and Bears. Bears are better than you think, and now Cutler's out, right? And that other guy's in. That was another one we missed last week that a quarterback change happened early on, right? So this one, it's more of a pick 'em. I'm scared to pick that game. But the file says the Saints because they're look at the Saints stronger in almost every category except for defensive rating, barely. The defenses are about equal. So all that talk about the Saints' terrible defense maybe doesn't apply as much this year. The Jets are not favored against the Falcons. This is a tough one. Falcons are coming off a Sunday night slapping from New England, and the Jets are not miserable. Anything can happen in this game. I think this is a scary. I bet you. I like the over in this game. If you're into that. It's 21-22, but I don't know. I feel like this is going to be a funky game. But don't listen to me. It likes Atlanta, so you should probably like Atlanta too. Philly, of course, I love over the Niners. That would be a lock of the week if I was allowed to pick them, because I have already, so I can't. But the 79% here makes sense to me. So love that. Philly, of course, destroying in every single category, including wins, and we'll see how they do tonight. Of course, this will change after Philly's game tonight, so keep that in mind. When we update stats after the Philly plays the Redskins tonight. Seattle and Houston. Surprised that this is only 13%. It wants this game to be 23-23. Seattle slightly better in things, but Houston's offensive rating is much better. And Houston's putting on more points per game, but Seattle's known for defense, and Seattle has a much better defense. So that's why Seattle's supposed to win this game. And Seattle has more wins. So that's pretty good. That's a lot of good things for Seattle there. So at 13%, yeah, that seems pretty good. Because we have to go. I have to go I can only miss like 2 games a week, or 2, maybe 3. I really got to make this like 2 or less. So got to get these Tampa Bay and Carolina. Carolina is coming off a 3-point nothing outing, but playing Tampa Bay. I guess Carolina's going to win, but you don't know. And then the Skins against the Cowboys. Wow. Without knowing what the Skins do against Philly Knights, you can't really trust this number yet because it's going to change when we get because these stats are going to change after Monday night. So keep that in mind. I really can't make a call on this game, and you'll probably only get to see it if you get the file. So that's our pre-Week 8 setup, and having a lot of fun. And so we're going to go with Minnesota. I really love Minnesota because they're available, and I like the matchup against. You should always have Cleveland over here on the right. If you had chosen Cleveland every game, you would be winning. I don't think Cleveland has had to play the same team twice, right? Because Cleveland's 0 and everything, right? Cleveland has lost every game. So you could have done essentially this. It's kind of funny. Grab that, and you go over here, and you just paste it as values. 1, 2, 3. Paste as values. You would have won every single game, and that could have been your role. You could have picked teams like the Jets and the Bengals and the Colts. I mean, imagine you could have had a winning survivor pool so far by having teams like the Colts, the Jets, the Bengals, the Titans. I mean, that's I had the Titans. Yeah. So funny, right? So if you just put Cleveland over the right, you're a genius, and that's why I'm doing it this week. So we're done, and good luck to you.